our system. But I want to thank everyone for joining us here tonight for a very important evening conversation involving our Fairlawn community / Anacostia community. Tonight we'll be joined by a host of guests, stakeholders, agency commissioners, school board members, and agencies to talk about the problem that happened, I guess, about 2 Sundays ago. At about 8:45 a.m., I know I was notified that we had a water issue in our community. This is happening along the 1600 block of Fairlawn Avenue Southeast, and it's affected other parts in close proximity to this location, including Anacostia High School. We are joined by the principal of Anacostia. Principal Walker, raise your hand. Give him a round of applause to join us tonight. If you are a part of the Alumni Association of the group, could you stand as well? Stand up, Principal Walker. Give him a round of applause. First, I want to thank the administration at Anacostia High School, also Kramer Middle School, who did a tremendous job in helping our young people transition and have a healthy learning week. As you may know, they went into the school, I believe that Monday, and had to leave at 12, then had to shift over eventually to Kramer Middle School with 2 schools and 1 school. We're talking about high school students and middle school students. One group is probably a lot to manage, but 2 groups is a task. They did a tremendous job of handling that. Also, Principal Shelby, who's not here tonight, but she did, her and her team, Dr. Mack did a great job of making sure our young people are still able to learn. They are in the midst of homecoming week, which was last week, and they did not have their homecoming as a result of this tragedy in the community. So they are having a game tomorrow night, correct? And going to reconvene their homecoming activities. I'm going to just say this, they are needing donations. They had a lot of stuff planned. This delay hurt them in the festivities they had all week, and so they're in the process of planning, trying to get the kids, keep the kids' morale up, and keep their spirits happy so they can celebrate. For some of them, this is their last year of high school, and you don't want this to damper their high school experience. They're already experiencing enough. And so if you are able to help out, you can speak to Principal Walker after this, and we want to make sure our kids are made whole, and we show them love in their homecoming week. All right? I want to also acknowledge our advisory neighborhood commissioners. If I call your name, you can stand up. Commissioner Tom Donahue. Thank you. Commissioner Anthony Foreman. We also had Dr. Lee. Thank you. Commissioner Andrea Davis. Thank you. Appreciate you. Commissioner Jamila White. I know she's been on the calls and the meetings. I even saw Tom at the school. I even saw our State Board Education representative at the School of Joy at the school as well. Commissioner Robert McKinney, who's also on my staff. Commissioner Tamora Redmond. Thank you. Am I saying the first name right?
Yes, sir.
I got it right. Thank God. And all those who participated, I do want to start off by acknowledging those partners, because we can't do this by ourselves. I want to thank our Fairlawn Citizens Association President, President Graydon Pressburn. All right? How can I miss you? Thank you. I see you're also joined by Ms. Curl. Hello. Anyone else in the Fairlawn Civic Association? We want to acknowledge you and thank you for your service. I know you do it for free. It's a heavy lift, but you have been going for as long as even longer than I've been a council member. I want to thank you for that. To the order of business, I think that there's been some miscommunication. Some people got the message, some people don't, but we know there were between 10 to 14 households affected, and sometimes even more. And for what we know, according to the report, the several generators and a pump failed during a project. And I guess what I've heard here is once one failed, another failed, and if someone got on site to reset it, it caused a major shutdown. I believe that now DCWater responded immediately, got the word out, and reset it. By this time, sewage backup had already affected several people living in the community. If you have been affected directly from this incident, can you raise your hand? Okay. We want to make thank you. I want to send my condolences. I hate to use that word, but it's a very inconvenience for us to go through this. And those others, we want to make sure I know my staff, we've been trying to contact everyone who's been affected by phone, because we did have a meeting fairly quickly. DCWater responded quickly. I want to thank the leadership of DCWater here. From DCWater, can you raise your hand? Okay, y'all deep. Thank you. I appreciate that. Tonight we will hear from our stakeholders, our partners, to ensure that our community is made whole and figure out our next steps. There was a PowerPoint that was passed out. We apologize we don't have the projector tonight, but you all have done your due diligence in getting printouts, so we appreciate that. That's going to be helpful for us moving forward. And we want to ensure that we do everything in our power that this doesn't happen again. It's a big inconvenience to try to go to work on Monday or be relocated to a hotel, and your child goes to school 3 blocks. Now he or she has to travel across town to get to school in the morning, and you may or may not have a car. So we want to figure out what happened, what did we do to address it, and how can we move forward to prevent it from happening again. I'm going to pause there. I have a lot of other remarks, but I'm going to pause there. We have representatives from DCS here. Okay, thank you for coming. Get a round of applause. Thank you for coming. DCS is the Department of General Services, one of our government agencies that take care of all of our facilities in DC. And we have a lot of dialogue going back and forth with them about our facilities. We'll talk a little about this area here, but that's another topic. So I'm going to digress and turn the mic over, the lack of mic, I guess, over to DCWater. We have Matthew Brown and Kirsten Williams from DCWater, who's going to give remarks. Anybody else, let me know. And give them a round of applause, please.
So good evening, everybody, and thank you for having us. Councilmember, thank you for the invitation. As the councilmember said, my name is Matt Brown. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for DCWater, and I'm also serving as the Interim Chief Operating Officer. First of all, let me just say we acknowledge that this is a difficult time. We hear you. I was out on Sunday, councilmember, with some of the ANC commissioners, and was able to talk to many of the residents. But tonight, we just appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation. We have some information, and that's why you have the PowerPoint. We want to be thorough and describe the situation so that, oh, you can't hear me. All right. All right. Is that better? I can't tell what you're saying, Lisa.
Thank you.
A little bit louder? All right. I'm gonna move up here, if that's all right. So we know this is a difficult time, and so we were here tonight to talk about what happened, to explain the process for dealing with claims for damages that have happened, and then as the council member said, we want to tell you the steps that we've taken to help ensure that this doesn't happen again. We absolutely do not want things like this to occur, and I think that's important that you hear it from me and from DCWater. We don't want things like this to happen, and when they do, we take them extremely seriously. And so that's why we're here. That's why we have members of the DCWater team here, because we want to be able to answer your questions. So Alan Salas in just a second is going to talk about why we were here and why we had the original project. But there's an original sewer. It was from the early 1900s. And so while we were rehabbing that sewer, the incident occurred. But it's really important that we continue to invest in our infrastructure. I mean, that's more than a 100-year-old sewer. And we got a lot of really old infrastructure here at DCWater. And we want to continue to invest in it because we want to prevent failures from happening. We want to make sure that when you turn on the tap, the water comes out. We want to make sure that when you flush the toilet or take a shower, that all goes away and then comes down to blue plains for us to treat. And so as soon as the backup occurred, and I appreciate you, Councilmember, for acknowledging that, we were on the scene. We had representatives from engineering on the scene. I was on the scene. Our community affairs people were on the scene. We mobilized, the contractor was on the scene. But we wanted to do everything that we could that day in order to assess the situation. Cleaning was performed on that day. So if you had one of the affected residences, cleaning was performed that day. And then I want to thank our community affairs team. They've been working hard. They've been answering questions. Councilmember in touch with your office. the A&C commissioners have been in touch with you all, in touch with the residents, trying to answer the questions wherever they could. And so, as I said earlier, we've got our full team tonight. You're going to hear in just a second from one of our engineers, Alan Salas. We all raised our hands earlier, so you know where the DCWater folks are. But I think that shows how seriously we take this situation that we're here. And I want to acknowledge again how disruptive and upsetting the situation is for all of us, for your families, and for the community. We're DCWater. You're a valued member of our community. We're happy to be here. And when something goes wrong, it's our responsibility to help work through it and help address the issue and then help make sure that it doesn't happen again. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alan Salas. Alan is going to give an overview of kind of what happened. Well, first of all, the project. And again, it's rehabilitation of that 1900 sewer that we need to do. Explain what happened on Sunday morning. And the presentation also includes some resources on how to move forward. So if you have a copy of the presentation, there's some contact information. We'll point that out to you as we get to that in the presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Alan. Thank you.
I have a few more copies if people want. Yeah. We're not sure if this room had any.
Yeah.
Set up. So as Matt Brown mentioned, my name is Alan Salas. I'm the project engineer in the DCWater site. Can people hear me okay over there? Okay, so yeah, so my name is Alan Salas. Is that better? Better? Worse?
Yeah.
Okay. So my name is Alan Salas. I'm the project engineer for this site. And I just want to walk you through, if you have the presentation, there's a handout going around. Hopefully there's enough for everyone. Ideally, we want to present it here so you can see it, on the big screen. I do apologize for that inconvenience. So Alan Salas, DCWater project engineer. I'm the person from the DCWater side in charge of this site. So I just want to get you, walk you through the presentation. How do we get here, and what's the project background, and why this project is so critical for the infrastructure of DC, but also the infrastructure of the community, and how this project essentially is for the community. But we do apologize of what happened last Sunday. So we'll start with the project information. Just want to walk you through just the basic facts, and then we're going to open it up for questions. So, this project started back in December 2023. As you can see, people have the handout. It was a pipe collapse that then after that happened, there was a sinkhole that emerged from that pipe collapse. So essentially, once that pipe collapsed, all that dirt and everything on top of it went into that pipe. That happened in December of 2023. So as a result of that, this pipe is big. It actually starts all the way from Maryland boundary, and all the way through your community, and it ends eventually at Blue Plains for treatment. This is a sanitary line, so that means that it's a sewer. When you flush down the toilet, eventually, if you leave it near that community, essentially that goes to that pipe. So that pipe, the size is 54 inch by 60 inch tall. So in terms of how tall it is, this pipe size. So it's a big pipe, right? It's average flow. It's around 10 MGD, million gallons per day. And like Matt Brown mentioned, this pipe, it's early 1900s. Over time, it has deteriorated. So this is a project to make sure that another sinkhole or another collapse doesn't happen in your community. So we took this sinkhole as an opportunity to go into that community and also rehabilitate upstream and downstream of the segment. So the location, as everyone is familiar here, it's Fairlawn on 16th Street, adjacent to the high school. So the initial emergency response, as part of this December 2023 collapse, we stabilized the sinkhole, we put a trench box around it, and we also removed all that debris. So everything that went into that sinkhole, we had to remove it. So that took about 5 to 6 months. We had to bring a specialty contractor from out of state on an emergency basis to eventually get all that dirt in that pipe out. During that cleaning, there was some temporary bypass. So if you were part of the community, you saw temporary bypass there, bypass pumping, to make sure we lowered the levels at the pipe when we were cleaning that pipe. So that happened all throughout 2023, 2024, and like I said, the project transitioned mid-2024 to high priority repair. So we wanted to fix more than just a sinkhole. So what we wanted to do, we decided to fix 2,200 linear feet of pipe. So that's a little bit less than half a mile of pipe that we wanted to do. And a repair method for this, in order for us to repair this pipe, because there is no redundancy, meaning you have to bypass the flow of whatever you do. It's a geopolymer application, so I don't want to get too into the technical details, but if you see that cross section here, that green, essentially, the pipe over time, the thickness of the pipe, especially at the top, it deteriorates over time. So what we're trying to do there, we're trying to do a man entry. So someone's going to go down into the pipe and essentially put a cementitious-like material, spray it around, and rehabilitate the pipe, and it can reinstate that structural stability, so like another collapse like this doesn't happen. So this construction costs us around $9.5 million. Like I said, we're trying to invest back into the community and just make sure that another sinkhole like this doesn't happen. And the contractor we hired for this job, for this long-term rehabilitation, was Formire Construction Corporation. And the bypass pumping subcontractor, so there's a lot under that contractor, there's other subcontractors, and one of them was the United Rentals that were, on Sunday they were operating those pumps. Construction start date, if you're part of the community, start around July 2025, and then the expected completion during is around spring of 2026. Over the past 2 months, we set up the bypass pumping, and the bypass has been online since September, I think September 9th, first week of September. That's when we turn it on. So, for a month and a half, nothing has happened. So nothing was supposed to happen, but this is where we are. So for the next slide, next sheet, I just wanted to show you where everything is in space. Just the map. Just want to walk you through some of the main stuff. So the green area highlighted, that's the bypass. So if you walk along that Fairlawn Avenue, you'll see a lot of above grade piping. So that's the bypass. The intake starts around Naylor Avenue and Fairlawn, and it goes all the way behind the high school, all the way to 13th Street. So that's the bypass. That whole section needs to be dry in order for someone to go down into that pipe and repair it. The red, highlighted in red, that's the repair segment. So that's how much we're trying to repair of that pipe. And then the yellow dot that you see, that's where the sinkhole took place, which is right next to the high school. And then the failure of the bypass pumping, it's where that red dot is. So that's the connection of 16th Street and Fairlawn. So as part of this bypass, you also have to make sure you divert the flow at the separate streets. So like, if you see 16th Street and 17th Street, all those houses are connected to that acid, right? So because there's constant flow, people are still constantly using and flushing down the toilets, then we need to divert that flow into the main bypass. So the failure that happened last Sunday happened at that 16th Street location, where people mentioned, someone, when they came back and saw that the pumps were off, right? So they're still trying to figure out what happened and why those pumps were off and how long they were off for. We're still conducting an internal investigation, and the contractor and DCWater are conducting an investigation of what truly happened. So that's kind of where everything is in space. And then just on the next slide or sheet. So now we go. Everything was according to plan as of last Sunday. We have, you don't know how many meetings we have to talk about just bypass and emergency plan, and just to make sure that we have continuous active flow. So we may have an emergency for bypass and everything. But when this like this happened, it's just unfortunate that it happened. So the last Sunday basement backup event, the sewer backup, United Rentals bypass system failed at 16th Street, and like my friend mentioned, the response measures all immediately after that. We got there on Sunday with a contractor, and the contractor immediately called ServePro. So ServePro started cleaning the houses affected along Fairlawn. And as you can see here, it's the houses affected were along Fairlawn and the start of 16th Street. So that block, it's around 7 houses that were affected by this. So the ServePro, which are the response, this is what they do for a living. They respond to this type of situations. They got there around 5 p.m. and then they immediately started cleaning overnight. So they started cleaning, I think they stopped until like 1 o'clock in the morning. So all the houses were cleaned by ServePro, and then as of now, ServePro is still doing some work at the Anacostia High School, and then we're also working with the Anacostia High School to make sure that, everything is, from our end, good. And actually last week we assessed the area and we confirmed that our system is running, and all the connections to that high school are properly clean and they're good to go. So that's been confirmed as of late last week. So point of contact regarding residential claims, I included that point of contact. That's the person, if there is any people that were affected, that's usually they have issues with anything regarding the cleaning and any after events, that would be their main point of contact. And then if you have any other questions, that will be the DCWater hotline. That is also on here. So phase 2, what do we do after this, right? So phase 2, we are adding additional mitigation measures. And I think Fort Myers here has, they're right here, if you can maybe add a little bit more into that. But they added an additional pump watch personnel, and they're also installing cameras in front of that equipment, just to make sure that, they have eyes 24/7 on the bypass pumping. And I'm not sure, I guess, Fort Myers, if you want to add anything to it.
Yeah, so to piggyback on what you were saying, we added, sorry about that. Yes, sir. Right about here?
Yeah, with the cameras out front, sir.
Okay. Okay, so, good evening, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So, on top of the fourth man, the technician that's watching the pumps, we added cameras at every station, every pump. So to protect United Rentals from their equipment and also the residents. We also added a bypass system that it's equipped with auto dialer. That means if it goes above a certain level, there's a call that it goes to, which is Sean Banner from United Rentals, 24/7, and they can respond right away. Yes. I'm sorry, did you guys say anything? No. Okay. On top of that, all the backups and the standby pumps, they're equipped now with a trickle charge. So the batteries never die. For any instance, or the pumps get shut off, they continue to work. So this doesn't happen again.
So for the upcoming activities, we are still trying to do, and like I said, this work is very critical for the community. So we're definitely, we're trying to finish this as soon as we can, and then we're trying to repair the 2,200 linear feet of that pipe, and also we have to repair that collapse segment because that we haven't repaired that sinkhole yet because that's actually an entry point for us to go in there and repair that pipe.
We're gonna come back to you, so once you go too far, because I can assume there are a lot of questions and concerns that we need follow-up on. Are there any other residents that have recently joined us that was not in the room when we first came in? Okay, 1, 2. And we wanna make sure we have your correct information so we can contact you, stay in the loop, keep you in the loop, and just be a part of the process as this thing evolves, because, whoa. Okay. Be like, all right. We're gonna have remarks from DCPS. We have Dr. Lee, who is here, who is Anacostia High School Instructional Superintendent, and we have Ms. Cynthia Ruiz, there we go, who is our Chief Integrity Officer at DCPS. We'll have some remarks.
Cynthia Ruiz, I am the Chief Integrity Officer. I said good evening, thank you for having us. I am Cynthia Ruiz, I'm the Chief Integrity Officer for DC Public Schools, and I oversee attendance and enrollment. And we're really here to talk about attendance, and just wanted to say thank you to the Anacostia team, to staff and our students for being super resilient last week. In general, attendance matters to us. It matters every single day, and it counts every day, right? From a leadership perspective and sort of a district perspective, we look at attendance daily. And just for awareness, the week prior to this incident, Anacostia had an in-seat attendance of 77.6%. And then last week, give or take, I know we had a day where students left early and then there was no school on Tuesday. But throughout the week, the in-seat attendance was about 56.6%, which again, to me is really speaking about students' resilience, really trying to make it back to school to make sure that they're there every day. And again, thanking the staff for doing the same thing as well. I do want to sort of pivot and talk about the things that we are going to work on this week to really support our students just to come back to school every day, and to what was mentioned earlier around their homecoming festivities. Very excited about that. One of the things that we are going to work on this week and excited to do is we are going to do a raffle. We're going to raffle off a pair of AirPods every day for students who are there on time, so sort of like a ticket. Again, really want to encourage our students to be at school every day and on time. I think one of the things that I also want to highlight and want to make sure that if you have any questions about that, whether it's for you, or you're a student, or for a friend of a friend, our supports and interventions. As you guys may know, Anacostia is a connected school, so there are other supports that our connected schools programs provide. Attendance point of contact, our social workers are there, our attendance counselors are there to support, depending on what's going on, and again, to encourage our students to come to school every day. We do currently have the partnership with the Department of Human Services around, it's our truancy pilot, so if there are students with a lot of absences, there is support that is there. Outside of those sort of centralized supports, the Anacostia team does do a lot to encourage attendance. There is the Friday attendance celebrations, there's the teacher champions, and there's the 90% in-seat attendance club. Again, there are a lot of things that the Anacostia school team is doing to ensure that our students are engaged, that they're motivated, and they're coming to school every day. And this is just a little hiccup, and again, we're excited to welcome our students back into the building tomorrow. And then the last thing, if students were absent for any other reason outside of this, if there were, medical appointments, or they were ill or sick or anything like that, please, just doing a plug-in the excuse notes that can be submitted through our Ask and Go system. Again, you all can reach out to the attendance counselor at the school, just to make sure that they're capturing all of the notes or capturing everything that may have not been captured during this time to ensure that the attendance is accurate. Happy to answer any questions now or after. Again, our attendance matters. It's very important for us. We're excited to bring back our students back to their buildings now. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Dr. Lee.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. At the beginning of the meeting, it was noted how Principal Walker and his team managed this entire experience. So what I'm going to do is share with you a few things that the team did to ensure continuity of learning when young people from Anacostia High School co-located at Kramer Middle School. First, student and teacher schedules were modified to ensure uninterrupted learning in ELA, English Language Arts, college and career, math, science, and social studies. Classrooms were grouped by grade level and split alphabetically, with 2 classrooms per grade to maintain structure. Each classroom was supported by 2 to 3 teachers at all times, rotating each period so students could remain in place with minimal movement, and select elective teachers provided small group instruction throughout the day, depending on scheduling and student needs. And that was during the time when students were co-located at Kramer Middle School. Now I'd like to discuss with you a few supports that will be put in place by the team as they return to Anacostia High School tomorrow. Teachers will provide students with a copy of their current Term 1 grades and offer opportunities to complete any missed assignments. The attendance team will meet with students to gather documentation for absences and ensure records are updated accurately. And lastly, the district has granted an additional day for teachers to finalize and input grades, recognizing the temporary shift in learning routines. I just want to end with saying that Principal Walker and his team at Anacostia High School navigated this experience with great calm, clarity, direction, protection, and order. I'd like to applaud Principal Walker and a few teachers who are in the audience this afternoon for how they care for one another and for students and families throughout this time. And we look forward to resuming our normal activities and expectations tomorrow at Anacostia High School. Thank you.
Give me 2 minutes, I'm gonna come to you. I do want to thank DCPS for their leadership. I was in the building for a few days afterwards. It was a great environment. But I do want to say for the record, we do want Anacostia. I'm in full support of Anacostia being a standalone high school for the record. We do want to say that. We are also joined by our Advisory Neighborhood Chair, Ms. White. She joined us. Thank you for joining us. Also joined by another Advisory Commissioner, Frida Moore, who's here. And during that week, we had Wendy Glenn and also Quentin, who just left, who was here. They did a wonderful job following up with our residents. And during the week, I kept saying this young lady, Miss LaJoy Law Johnson Law. Johnson Law.
It's Johnson Law. You got it right.
That's the first time I got it right?
That's the first time.
Hey, progress. Miss Johnson Law was in the building all week, helping us to keep the morale of the students up. She was our State Board of Education representative. Give her a round of applause. You want to say a few words?
Thank you.
Come on up.
Okay. Do you want me to stand right here?
Do what you feel.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes. Good evening, Great Ward 8. Come on, good evening. Good evening. We gotta keep, this is what we do. We gotta be, even though we're in emergency and there are things happening, there's a lot going on, we gotta keep the morale up. We can't let people bring down the hope. We gotta figure out solutions to a pathway forward so we can keep going. So last week I was at a conference. The State Board had a conference, but I was in numerous calls with the council member's office. I'm looking at Principal Walker. I think I texted him. He was in a meeting. He was like, girl, I'm going to have to text you back. I was on the phone with Tori. I was on the phone with Ms. Hodge. I was on the phone with the council member's office and Commissioner Donahue, just trying to figure out, okay, like what happened, when it happened, and again, how do we go forward? Thank you, DCPS, for your remarks. I do hope and pray that the day the students were absent, that we are excusing those absences. Would that be correct? For the day after, was it Monday? So that Tuesday, you all didn't get to Kramer yet, right? So that Tuesday, are we excusing the absences?
Yeah, that Tuesday would be, since we didn't have any school, it would be excused absence.
Okay, just want to make sure, because as we look at our attendance record, we want to make sure that they're excused and not unexcused, all right? And so that's number one. Number two, with DCWater, I hope that this situation has taught us that maybe sometimes, especially if we're near homes and things that are happening, I don't know if you all sent a letter to the school or to DCPS or to the residents about the ongoing of things that are happening, but maybe like when things like this are happening, just to let people know, so that way they are aware that, hey, that they're just, just work being done. We know that unfortunate things happen, but again, we are resilient, we are worthy, we are gonna keep thriving. Council members, thank you for this meeting. If you all have any questions for me, I'm always on the ground doing something. I think I'm at like 3 or 4 schools a day. It really depends on the day. But I think just one, we care about our community. I see the news media is here, so if you have this image in your head that people in Ward 8 or Southeast or Anacostia don't care about the communities, they do, because they showed up on a Monday night.
Yes.
And we do care about our homes. We do care about our schools. We do care about our families. We do care about our children. So when you write this story, please show the resiliency of Anacostia High School and every single resident that took out time on their Monday night away from their homes to be able to come here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember.
You have a question from a resident? State your name. Question.
You can sign up too. I'm Christina Queen. I'm a former Anacostia High School student, so I'm an alumni. Hey, girl. I was given the invitation to attend this community meeting this afternoon. I said I would be there because not only, like I said, I'm a alumni, I'm a resident, homeowner, and I'm proud, of what the Great Ward 8 stands for. And I wanted to be sure that I say what a lot of people are thinking. December 2023 is a very long time ago. Giving respect to everything that everybody said, that sounds like a lot of missteps from December 2023 to a progressive November 2025 repair. And I understand what you're saying, but what I haven't heard, and I'm pardon me for coming directly after work, but like I said, I found out about it this afternoon. I registered, my body is in the building, I have questions. I want to hear you all say, this is what happened. It sounded to me like we have to dry that place, so we need it to be accessible. In the drying of the space so that it can be accessible for repairs, it sounds like the things were turned off and there wasn't a rerouting of the mitigation system. It sounds like someone missed some steps. How are we ensuring, because I don't know the extent of the damage that was done to the school or how the community, the homes were impacted personally. I don't know how they, it sounds like sewer backup coming through drains and out of showers. I don't know what the extent of it was, but how are we dealing with what that means for ventilation systems, cleanliness, those affected with senior citizens or breathing or bronchial situations? What happens so that the students who are going to be in the school are not breathing in airborne pathogens and bacteria or anything that could, not just the sanitation, but could affect them in other ways down the line? What is the cleanup like in the sanitation process, and how are y'all addressing those missteps from December 2023 so that whatever has happened, even though you said you got cameras on it, sounds like I should have been there. But I wasn't here at the beginning, and I don't want to keep making y'all repeat or blame something, hoping this head person is here. Robert Hibb, are you here? Of course not. So I want there to be some follow through from people who are actually able to give answers, not just be a middle person for those of us that have concerns. I want you to tell us what happened, how it cannot impact the students any further, how it cannot affect the residents any further, and what we can do to make sure that it never happens again. It's always, we have to be resilient in war, and you always have to roll with the punches. We didn't create these punches. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. We have enough stuff against us as people. We don't need additional things being added onto us when this seems like a negligence issue.
All right, let's give them a chance to answer. Thank you, appreciate that.
Okay. I'll try to, you had a lot in there, so let me try to.
I know.
We'll do our best. We'll do our best. So Alan can help me with the technical details, but I'll try to explain. I'm not an engineer, so I'm going to try to tell you from a non-engineer standpoint. That's all right. And he'll tell me if I've messed something up. So there was a sinkhole that happened. There's an old 1900s pipe, and what happens is because it's filled with sewer, the gases, the flow deteriorate the pipe. And I think he showed you on the picture what happens to that pipe. I mean, the pipe's more than 100 years old. It's had sewer going through it, and the pipe starts to deteriorate. And as a result of that, there was a collapse, right? And so one of the options would have been just to come to that site, fix the collapse, and move on. But as we assessed the situation, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just that piece that was repaired. It was what we call upstream and downstream. So it's about 2,200 feet of pipe that we wanted to rehabilitate. And you rehabilitate that by, it's a material that gets sprayed around the pipe. But the whole pipe has to be dry in order to do that. And so the way to handle that is to establish what's called bypass pumping. And what it means is we put a pipe on the ground, above ground, and we put all the sewer in that pipe and pump it around. Reroute. Right. And that allows the flow in the pipe to go down so that the work can be done. It was one of those pumps that was operating, that was taking the flow over the ground in the pipe, that early Sunday morning had a failure. The pump stopped working. And that's what resulted in the sewer backups. And so the project is going to last until probably spring. We want to get it done. I mean, it's a $9 or $10 million job. We want to get it done because we don't want any more problems with that big pipe, right? We want to make sure that there's not any kind of problem in the future from that pipe. And the way to do that is to do this project and to get it done. Does that make sense, or is there any questions?
All of it makes sense to me, because it sounds like you're saying the same thing you explained earlier, and I'm not saying it in a rude way, but I'm talking about the misstep of how it wasn't monitored from the beginning, because now what it sounds like, you see, this area is on swampland, like, I'm not new to this, I'm from here. It's understood that there would be some level of water and flow, because even the Anacostia River has caused problems because, it's technically below, the water. So it's understandable that this used to be swampland. So I'm not void of understanding that these types of things could occur. I'm saying because I know that, and you guys are the water company, I know you know that. How did this happen?
Yeah, so let me, we contract for work to get done. Our representative from Fort Myers is here. So let me see if he can address that question. And then you had questions about the high school and the work that was done there. The cleanup work that was done at the high school was done both with the DCPS contractor as well as ServePro. I'm not sure if we have the DCPS contractor here, but we have ServePro here. So let me, if I could, Jose, let you address the bypass. Yeah,
The bypass?
Yep.
Yes, I hear you. I used to live in Ward 8, across from Blue Plains. I lived there for about 4 years. And I do apologize. I do feel your pain and everybody's pain here, and I'm sorry. I hate to use the word reactive because that's exactly what we're doing right now, after the fact. But because the pumps were working before this, before even then we had a plan to rebuild the pipe. Because from 2023 until I would say about July, it was all designing. How to do it, how much to apply because of the duration of the pipe, the thickness of it, everything took place and the proposals back and forth and with the designing. But the pumps were working before, the pumps worked for a month and a half from July, August probably until mid-September. I think there's set up all the bypass, all the pipes and the pumps and everything, and it worked for about a month and a half. And unfortunately, it took place. It happened. I'm sorry, there's nothing I can say about that. It did happen. And for me, you know, we had meetings, and what can we do better? You know, this happened should never happen, never. So that's why we set up the cameras, not only to protect the equipment, because one thing I do know, if I was a resident and I want to get some sleep, I would be bothered by noise. I get that. We put up the noise curtains to try to prevent that noise, not to eliminate the noise, but to reduce the noise. And so I'll probably be mad myself, especially on the weekends. And so, but I know that we have had, and I would say, when I say we, the United Rental people that had some issues with some of the residents, I'm not sure who it was, about the noise and the complaints at night. And I get that, I get their frustration. And so we put up the cameras to watch the pumps, but also to protect them, the equipment and the residents, because we don't want anything to happen like this. And I'm sorry, once again, no words, doesn't matter what I say to anyone in this room.
Because it already happened.
Exactly.
I have a follow-up comment or question. There's known between 10 to 14 homeowners that were affected. We know in this community, for those who own property, that's where most of our wealth is in our houses. As it is noted that the sewage backed up through the houses, I guess my question is, even in addition to those houses, I got a call, it's a Saturday, I got a call Saturday that other residents close by are having smells in their houses as well, that's close by. They may not have seen the backup. What is happening to make the residents whole who have experienced that? I know some people have been relocated, some people have been in hotels, and we can speak to the process of that. That'll be helpful for those who are affected in the room.
Okay, the houses that were affected that we know of, for now, there are 7. Allegedly, perhaps there were 10 or 14, but only the ones I think that were affected was 7. And ServePro has been there, and Mr. Seth, if you don't mind, correct me if I'm wrong, please.
8 houses.
I'm sorry?
There was 8 houses affected.
8 houses?
Yes.
It's 7.
7 or 8.
Between 7 and 8.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So the smells, once again, if you open up the window, I'm sure the smell's gonna come in because it's sewage, so it's being bypassed. But manholes will try to eliminate that by covering the manhole tops. But I'm sure you can still smell it. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Hi, okay.
Ask a question.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions and comments.
Name.
Braylon Pressburg, I'm the president of the Neighborhood Association, Fairlawn Citizens Association. And one of the first things I did was I went back to look at my emails to see what information had I received regarding the sinkhole, the start of the problem. And there's been at least 5 communications. Several of them were forwarded to me from ANC commissioners. There were like 3 right after the sinkhole occurred, like 3 months in a row. There's something new going on project. I live in the 1300 block of Ridge Place. The immediate activity to deal with the sinkhole was at the site of the sinkhole. But the staging was done at the corner of 13th and Ridge Place, the end of the block I live on. And there was a huge, I guess, pump and filtering setup going on there that went on for several months. I had to go over and find out what's going on because we were smelling the sewage, but we didn't know what the problem was. And I asked them, does this have to do with the sinkhole? And they told me yes. And I'm thinking, I saw you at the site, Silas? Is that your name, Silas? But I didn't talk to you. I talked to someone else who was sitting in the truck, you know? And anyway, over time, eventually we saw the pipes above ground. That didn't happen immediately. That took a while. And what I'm not hearing here, but I'm thinking is the case, is this pipe that is 52 inches wide, 6 feet tall, is approximately 6 inches thick. The wall of the pipe is about 6 inches thick. And it's a 100-year-old pipe. So, I mean, it's not inconceivable that there's going to be corrosion and a possible collapse. But what we don't know is why the collapse occurred right there. What we do know, and because there have been complaints about it, is at the corner of 13th and Ridge Place, there would always be flooding. Whenever it's a heavy rain, snow, when it melts, it will be flooding. My thought was that it's the debris that's covering up the drainage. Maybe that was the case, maybe not. Maybe it was silt developing in the pipe. We don't know that. But what I haven't heard, and it might help folks to understand, is the way the sewage system is designed, it works by gravity. And when you don't have gravity working in your favor, you have to have pumps. Because you got to bring the sewage up to wherever the bypass pipes are, and to present energy to make it flow. And so if the pumps don't work, then the sewage is not going to move, and you're going to have backups.
So there's a lot of questions there. So just to provide a little background, the 13 and Rich, what you experienced, that was just so we were trying to clean. It actually took about 5 or 6 months for all that segment to be cleaned, because they had to start, that was the insertion point, and then they went upstream all the way to Fairlawn and 17th Street. So they cleaned around 2,500 linear feet of pipe. So all that dirt that went into the sinkhole, we had to remove that, right? So there were times that it was just very slow because there was so much sediment that was in that pipe. So that was what you experienced during those 5, up until May of 2024.
And what was that big box for?
That was it's a recirculation box. So instead of injecting water into the pipe, they recycle their own water. So whatever water is coming in, they drain it, right? They take out all those solids and sediments, and then they eventually return that water. So that was what you were experiencing. And through that heavy clean, there's a lot of, in addition to the sediment that you had in there, you also, that pipe, like you said, it does work by gravity, but over time there's sediment that accumulates. So as part of a regular maintenance, you have to clean it, right? So that sediment that settles over time, once you disturb it and you start cleaning it, it does produce that smell, right? So that's just part of, doing the regular maintenance of this big sewer that brings you sewage from Maryland, all the way from Maryland, and it's all connected. So that's on the overall, and the reason why it was afterwards you didn't hear anything about it is because once we had that sediment and everything gone, then in order for us to figure out how much thickness it remains on the pipe, you have to inspect that pipe. So that's why you have to inspect that pipe, and that goes into the design drawings, and then we have to figure it out from where to where we bypass. And then actually during that whole back and forth, we added an additional segment because we decided if we're gonna be here, let's be here and be done with it and not come back. So that's why we added an additional 300 linear feet of pipe. So that's the overall process. In terms of the bypass, whether or not it failed, I mean, it's not supposed to fail. This is not, you have, at each point you have 3 pumps, right? One, especially at the 16th Street where you failed, you have one running at all times. You have one to alternate, so you alternate pumps, and you have one for backup. So it's not, we have redundancy in the pumps. So we designed for this. This is not supposed to happen, right? This is, and that's what we're trying to investigate. Was it, human error? Was it, just people tampering with the pumps, right? So we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. So of what happened, because it's not supposed to happen. The systems have a backup and they alternate. So, there is redundancy in the system. It's not like you just one, and if it fails, you're done. No, there is redundancy in the system.
Okay, one quick question. Is it standard for a pipe of this size to be located like near the railroad right away because of the size? Because if this had happened under a street, it would be really bad.
I mean, this is like back in the 1900s, so yes, it was part of that.
I mean, that was the thought when they built it back then.
Yep.
And I imagine there are places
and there was
with pipes of this size under houses or under streets.
We're facing some time constraints. We have Tori. We got 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Tori Hawkins Plummer, I serve as the Connected Schools Manager at Anacostia High School, and I am responsible for making sure that families have clear communication and the resources that they need. I think that our administration and DCPS has done a great job making sure that we communicate with our families. However, I think it would be really good, as one of our residents already asked, to have something that comes directly, not just from DCPS, because we know the assumptions, the narratives, and how do we dispel the assumptions and the narratives that may be false. I think that the way we can do that is by not only issuing an apology directly from not DCPS, but DCWater, but in layman's terms, so that everyone, no matter if you're educated or not, can understand in layman's terms what happened and how you're working to prevent it happening again. Because in my opinion, don't want to get in any trouble, but I'm a truth teller, and I care about our families. I care about this community. I think that DCPS has done what they needed to do to get the notifications and the messages. But we need to now hear, as a community, from you all directly. I don't know what that looks like, but it should definitely happen.
So in terms of community updates, I just want to address that. So we have provided community updates. I just don't know. I guess I'll have to make sure that it gets to everyone. So we usually have, we provided community updates when the project started, and then even before with the actual.
Can you speak up a little bit?
It's been going to the AMC.
The question he asked was how, and I didn't hear your response. I couldn't hear you from back here.
There are two ways, and I think Joey is that will, because eventually, so I work with.
So normally when we send out a notification about the project, is AMC and SMD specific of exactly where the project area is. So we have been communicating with the AMCs, to which we have been discussing with Commissioner Donahue, because that is in his SMD. He receives the updates anyway, or anytime that we get them, we forward it to him. So this incident in itself was something that, again, we were not expecting.
There are students that don't live in that SMD, so I guess we're trying to figure out how to get from DCWater to the agency commission, but also to the broader residents that have to go back and forth to the school and residents in that area.
And that's also AAO too.
Yeah, that's my district, so.
So you should send it to the whole
You should send it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get it to
So the answer is
Anacostia.
email. That's what you're saying? You guys email it? Is that the answer?
So initially, it will be an email to the AMCs, yes. However, we will do door to door as well. We'll do.
So, and just to
Just to follow
Hold on
up.
one second. Hold
Oh,
on
sorry,
one
sorry.
second. Let her answer the question.
I wanted to address your comment because I think your point is well taken. So I'm Kirsten Williamson, the Chief Administrative Officer of DCWater. And communications and marketing falls up under my department, also stakeholder engagement. And I think this is a good lesson for us where we've been on the phone working 24 hours in partnership with DPS, DCPS, DGS, and all of our partners to make sure. But sometimes there's the outreach that we do, and there's relying on our partners to do the outreach to the schools, and relying on DGS to do the outreach to the agencies. And this is another good opportunity. As you said, ma'am, we gotta learn from this and figure out what to do better. And what I'm hearing you say is that this is a moment for us to figure out what type of communication we need to do that's simple, that goes to the students, that they understand what role DCWater played, how we partnered with our partners in this moment to try to get the school restored and back in service and get the schools back, get the students back in school. And this is not something for me to point fingers. It's for me to listen and say, we could have done a better job with that, but this was unique because each of us had a very unique role to play, and certainly we will partner with the council member's office to make sure we find the best avenues, be it door-to-door, be it email, be it our social media channels, to make sure we get an update that goes out so that residents, be it whether you live in this SMD or not, have the updates of what's happening.
Thank you.
Got you. So we're gonna come here, here, and here. We'll see here, here, here. All right. That's all?
Number 2 is over there, 3,
I got.
4, and 5.
Jamila, can you keep our time for us? Because I want to make sure we are respecting the time we have here, so they won't kick us out. I don't want to not.
Councilman, thank you. Ben Dennis from DC News Now. Just to be clear, right now, it's not determined exactly what caused that pump to fail that was rewriting the sewage. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So how long might it take until the folks here get
I'm
the answer of
hoping,
what happened?
by Wednesday, Thursday morning. We send the United Venezuela technicians the very next day, which is the Monday, to figure out what happened. If they have a daily log that they have to fill out, they need to know the time, that why, when it was shut off. So they're doing the investigation themselves to see what caused it. Not only what caused it, but how long was it gone for, and so they're doing all that.
Yes, so my name is Lisa Harper. I have a son, senior at Anacostia, and I have a son at Rainbow. So my comment is one focus more on the teams. I want to say, I know we're talking about it, the resilience that they showed to just go, to like, okay, we're gonna move with this. I think it's very commendable and really needs to be talked about. Not just because we live in Ward 8, but because of everything that's going on around right here in DC, and they just rolled with it and they kept going. Just like their ancestors. We're talking about resilience, we're talking about tenacity to continue to get an education. I think that is really commendable.
That's right.
Just that to the side. The other point I want to make to everyone who's probably already aware of this, even though we use a lot of technology and it shouldn't have happened, okay, how can we learn from this? But here's something very important. Shouldn't have happened, you all are gonna try to figure out how it could never happen again. We have to have a plan for students in case something happens like this, quick. It will be no different as if something shut us down immediately, like a safety plan. How do we navigate around that? And the other piece is, if this happened in a school, regardless of what should have happened in technology and things like that, it's also a warning. This can happen in a larger scale in the exact same school because of the nature of what happened. This is great, the PR, the community meeting, but I think this is very important of like, hey, look at this, as far as Anacostia. And that's my comment.
Good morning, good evening, community. My name's Commissioner Tom Donahue. I'm the ANC commissioner whose votes are on the ground all day on Sunday and who have represented the neighbors who were displaced. Just to tell you a little bit, give you a little bit of background. So we had, one of my neighbors was concerned about the sinkhole when I first was elected. And I brought DC, and I contacted DCWater to express those concerns because the school was right nearby.
So since there was nobody had been around the hole for quite some time, I had asked them to come out and actually to do an inspection of the site to make sure the site continued to be safe while we had this big hole in the ground. And so DCWater did come out and inspect it, and then a couple months later, they began the work here along Fairlawn. When the work started or was about to start, a communication did come out to all of our A&C commissioners. I personally made copies of it, stapled it, and passed it out to the residents along Fairlawn, giving them an update as to what was going on. What I didn't do is I didn't pass it out to those along 18th Street. And the problem with that is, and the reason I didn't do that was because I didn't realize that the generators would be extending all the way down Fairlawn. And when you get to 18th, they've got this huge generator that is loud, is very loud. And the quality of the air, in my opinion, smells like sewage. So much to the point that about a month or so ago, we had to evacuate Kramer Middle School and Anacostia High School to the field. And so again, I was on the ground then dealing with it then. So this has been an ongoing thing with DCWater, and it's been a communication that we've been continuously having with DCWater. In the same breath, I also want to state that DCWater was there very quickly on Sunday. There's always in the sense of emergency of what to do, when to do, how to do it, that type of thing. But within 24 hours, they had ServePro on the ground, and my constituents had remediation already happening. They were in a hotel that night. And so there was a lot of community work that went together to make sure that our community, our neighbors were being taken care of. And I think that's really important. One question that we all have to ask as a community, and we have to ask DCPS, is why did students go to school on Monday? I'll say it again. Why did students go to school on Monday? Nobody was even informed that at least from our perspective, it was a constituent that told me that DCPS or that Anacostia High School was affected on Monday morning when I went to go check up on them. So when I walked over to Anacostia High School and saw the 6 to 8 feet of sewage that was in the elevator shaft, all I could remember in the back of my head was that DCWater was saying, not a great thing to have your residents in their houses. That's why they were displaced. That's why they were put in a hotel. So why in God's earth did we have students going to school on Monday? Also, DCPS was aware of it on Sunday. They started cleaning it up on Sunday. So that's one of the questions that I have for the council member, for DCPS. The video was what it was. It was a true representation of what had happened. There's nothing wrong with that. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't DCPS's fault at this point. So it's really important that we understand that there's been a lot of work about this project been going on for quite some time. We have residents on 18th Street that are continuously dealing with the smell and the sound of these generators and the smell. I've been working with DCWater, trying to get them to do some additional mitigation, putting boxes around the generators, whatever they can do to help those residents on 18th Street. So it's not only about the residents, but it's also about the students and making sure that they're safe. And when they go back to school tomorrow, we want to know about air quality checks. We also want to do about floor quality checks. Have they tested the floors? What are the
Ventilation systems.
What?
The ventilation systems.
Ventilation. I also have residents along Fairlawn whose washer and dryer don't work anymore. Their hot water heater doesn't work. How about all the cafeteria?
Outlets, like all that.
How about the cafeteria equipment? The places where food is going to be made. We have a lot of questions that the community should be asking DCPS and to make sure that our community is safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So who can give an answer to those questions? I know I talked to Fairlawn on Sunday. He had showed me that people wasn't there to do the cleanup. I had no idea to the magnitude of how it affected Anacostia until Monday morning. And I was shocked that they were in the building. Then I was even shocked that they was going to keep them throughout the day. Then I learned they sent them home. And I was like, okay, it makes sense. They should never been there. Then you got students, high school students leaving them in the middle of the day, which also creates safety concerns. as well. The DCPS has a response to that, and also about the air quality, the sanitation of the floors, the equipment in the cafeteria, all those things. I haven't heard a response to that. We can get a response to that. We'll go back and build them tomorrow.
Can I ask a question before they answer that question or what's pertaining to that, such as, my name is Sherry Williams, my home was affected on Fairlawn. I just walk I have a student as well at Anacostia. However, what I wanna know is that there are some questions that the residents don't know what to answer, such as air quality tests. The school has been an air quality test, but we weren't afforded that opportunity to get air quality tests. Also, I understand that there's some infrastructure stuff going on with the school, whatever the case may be. We weren't afforded the opportunity to have our infrastructure checked out, structural damages, because I wanna say it now because I don't wanna wait a couple years down the line and my house start leaning to the side and I try to come back and say, why is my house leaning to the side? Oh, that has nothing to do with what happened before. So I feel as though that we should be afforded the opportunity to have air quality tests done in our homes, because some of our residents have small children, as well as have our structural integrity of our homes checked. Years down the line, and council members have changed, everyone has changed, and then we're sitting there looking like we're crazy, such as some of the homes on Tyler Street, they just leaning to the side. We don't want that.
At our own.
Some of our homeowners are not here tonight because they're stressed out.
Mhm.
And that's one of the issues they wanna know. Who's gonna check the structure of our homes? If we're not afforded that. Also, I understand that the water receded, but all that water didn't go back in the drains. So I feel as though some of that water went down into our foundation, and we should be afforded the opportunity for our foundations to be checked as well.
Great question. Anybody got answers to that?
I thought DCPS was.
Yeah, I want to hear DCPS as well. Make sure that we hear from them.
I can just briefly say that from our perspective at DCPS, and I can speak briefly about this because I am going to defer to my partner agency, DGS, on that matter. But for DCPS stands, from our understanding, we thought it was a very small, like backup in the kitchen area. I think it wasn't until Monday that it was identified that it was in the elevator shaft. But I am going to defer to my colleague Brian just to share a little bit more from DGS perspective.
So I'm Brian Killian from Department of General Services. I lead our Environment, Health, and Safety Unit within DGS. We work and collaborate with DCPS on all the time, a very regular basis. And in this event, we actually collaborated with DCWater as well, and in particular ServePro. That night, the initial response, honestly, backups happen in our schools, unfortunately, frequently, right? So as part of that response, we sent out our vendor, Salute, Sewell Air Land Use Technologies. They went out, they responded. They did that initial cleanup again. Something that we thought was a smaller event, right? This was just a smaller backup. Didn't understand the scale, the size, so they responded. It wasn't until the following day that again, the elevator shaft was discovered that it had filled, right? Because no one actually opened it. There's a lot of air moving equipment, sanitization and deodorization going on, air scrubbing. So it wasn't something that stood out until some of the machines started being pulled out, right? And then it was discovered. So that's, I think, why there was a delay in that regard. But to fast forward a bit to what we're doing to make sure that everything is ready and prepared, for your return to school tomorrow. That's something that, again, we partner with DCWater, ServePro. There's some ServePro people here as well. So we worked in tandem together. Both groups have kind of gone in and done numerous cleanings, numerous disinfections. There's been, countless amounts of equipment, air drying, deodorization, and then a full post-assessment was performed. That assessment has been provided to DCPS. I think some communication's already gone out to the families, and that is going to follow. So you will have the findings of that. It does include, everything from The air quality assessment, like you said, or like been asked about, looking at the surfaces, looking at the cleanliness, and the important thing is, I know, there is food equipment, right? It did happen and it occurred primarily in the kitchen. All of that has been disinfected in triplicate. It has been disinfected and cleaned multiple times to ensure that it is a clean environment. The HVAC system, which keeps being asked about, one of the very first things, even ServePro, they were like, hey, let's get all the filters changed. So they started moving in, and the teams went in from our bullet plant operations team. They went in and changed all the filters in not only in the affected areas, but throughout the school from the main units on the rooftops, as far as I understand it.
Where can we find this report? I haven't seen it.
Like I said, it was just shared. It was like at 5:30, so you'll definitely see it. This epic. I mean, I can share it, or actually, I guess Michelle can share it with you.
Did you all work at all?
Hold on one second. Here's a follow-up about the homeowners and how they were affected and what it's done to make sure they remain whole and just even have inspections done on their homes. Waiting to hear back from that. That should be coming from the government.
Yeah, I don't. We service agencies as DGS and not the residential properties, so I wouldn't have a response to me.
I have a quick question.
All right, we got a question in the back that comes to you. So what I want to do with the residents is have a smaller conversation with the government, because somebody got to say something. And I'll reach out to the mayor's office in the morning, try to get a follow-up from them, because like I said, it's people's wealth are built in their houses. It's effect, we don't know the long-term effects. And the cleanup, or furniture has been damaged, all that. So we'll follow with that if we don't get an answer tonight. We can assure my follow up with that. We'll go right here, then right here. Oh, sorry, I apologize. Jamila?
It's 7:25, you got time.
Appreciate you. Commissioner Redmond here from 8807, just in preparation for the kids that are going back to school, because unfortunately I went through the experience where some years ago there was an event held at a DCPS school, John Eaton. They had some kind of humane thing in there. They had their filters professionally cleaned and things to that extent, but there were still some ultra-sensitive students who went back into that building after the fact and honestly couldn't breathe. So how are we training the students when they go back into that building if they're starting to notice symptoms or things? And how are they to report this? Who are they reported to? What information is being put together for the students to report to an adult if they start to notice symptoms or something to that extent once they get back into the building?
Or continuous testing, throughout the air quality throughout the school.
Let the people from the public school
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if it's I wasn't sure if we were gonna answer the testing part. Sure, yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. Again, I think what Brian said in terms of retesting it, you're right? The staff, students, I think if there is another smell or if they're not feeling well, absolutely go to the nurse. We have protocols in place when students don't feel well, or when anything else happens to our students. There are protocols in place. There are certain people who are assigned to certain things. Happy to chat with Principal Walker and the team and make sure that they feel supported throughout the rest of the week with ISD around making sure that they're elevating any concern, right? That's, to me, absolutely.
Are any of the higher ups in DCPS going to be in the building tomorrow?
And I think it should be explained to the students that this is outside of regular protocol. Sure.
And the families.
They feel safe. They need that this is a serious issue.
Like
and
they
if
did
something
with
comes up,
COVID.
it needs to be said then and there. Because like the homeowner said, we don't want 5 years down the road, that all of a sudden they're having symptoms or growing multiple limbs and stuff. There was something that came back from something they breathed in from biohazard from just this incident. So this is something I think, there are protocols, but now it needs to be put out there. This is serious. If you have a headache, if you see whatever, it needs to be reported.
I know we have like robocalls to go out, if something can communicate with the families as well. See Sharona Robinson saying yes.
Well, one of the things we do at Anacostia, we have town hall where we bring all our kids. We bring all our kids together on like twice a month on Wednesday, sometimes called advisory, sometimes called town halls. We bring different grade levels together and we speak about issues that happen in the building or the community. So we'll have one this Wednesday. We speak to our kids about the severity of what happened. We definitely spoke with them on last week around what was going on, how they can make sure they were good, make sure they was in a good space. When we moved from Kramer, they was really great from that time of transition. But we do have opportunities this week coming, to address kids with some of the things that might be happening, how to look for some of the smells, if they continue to smell those things, just to reassure that Anacostia is safe. So that's a spotlight we can do on Wednesdays. So we do those things on Wednesdays, but that's our town halls and on advisory when we speak to our kids during that time. So we'll bring those things out. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you. I just got to notice we got to be out here at 7:30. 10? Okay.
7:40, I got you 10 more minutes.
I think he wants to answer some questions regarding the cleaning of the residential houses.
Oh, perfect.
So,
Yes.
And who's ServePro here?
Yeah.
yes, sir.
You have anything to add to that?
The only thing I can add is
Can you stand up so we can?
He always says it. He always says it.
protocols that are set by IICRC and National Cleaning Standards. Been a licensed firm, there are things that we must do and we have to do. And based on the direction of Fort Myers, we have done those things on the mitigation side, which is the cleaning side. So the next step will be moving to a recon status.
What does that mean?
Reconstruction.
Of what? The house?
Yes, because there are things that take place during mitigation that you have to get up, you have to pull a carpet or those type of things, cut drywall, these types of things. There's a standard, there's a protocol. You know, I would just urge people I know it's a trying time. I do this all over the country. It's never a good day when this happens. There's never a perfect day to pick this to happen. But I can honestly tell you this. If we can all take the mentality of not trying to stir the pot, but walk towards the mess. It's a different leadership position from that standpoint. Everybody wants these kids to be safe. Everybody wants the residents to be safe. I guarantee you nobody that's on this leadership team woke up and says, how can we piss off the school system and the residents? It didn't happen. But this is where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. And it's gonna take a team effort. Team is together, everyone achieves more. There are no big eyes, no little U's in this process. It's all of us. And sometimes us is all we've got. So let's just keep that attitude and just remember, people are doing everything they can. I remember the first day I met Principal Walker. He shook my hand, he said, sir, I got 2 concerns. Get my school back open, and make sure it's safe and clean for my babies. Those are the things that we try to do in that process. Those are the things that we've done. Yeah, it's going to be a continuing process. There are other things that's going to happen that are outside of my control. But from the standpoint of ServePro and the things that we do, protocols that we follow, the latitude that we have, you can rest assured, I treat it as if it's my house.
Good evening, Anacostia patrons. The time is now 7:30 and the library will be closing in the next 30 minutes.
Let's go.
Please come to the checkout desk if you need to check out any books. Public computers will be shutting down in the next 20 minutes at 7:50, so please be sure to save or print any information that you may be working on now. Users of meeting rooms, study rooms, these rooms are now closed. Bathrooms are now closed. The Anacostia Neighborhood Library will reopen tomorrow on Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Thank you and have a good night.
Let's go.
Right here. Yeah, Janae.
Me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm Janine Hodges, school librarian at Anacostia High School. I just wanted to echo, one, thank you so much, Councilman. But since we started, I would like to say every stakeholder from Anacostia is represented here. We have a student here, we have parents, we have a wealth of alumni, we have administration and educators. So it is not just, this is not something we're taking lightly. This is a very serious situation, and thank you. I also have testimonials from a student who reminded me of a situation that happened years ago pertaining to plumbing of Anacostia. I'm going to forward that communication to Ms. Hawkins so she can share that with you, because this is apparently a redundant issue, which is what our alumni are noting as well.
Yep, I remember that.
So just to the community's point, they asked if you all could provide this information in layman terms. So in that report, are the regulations noted so that we know? I mean, you clarified it for me, sir. What is it? ServePro, okay. Yeah, you clarified it, but are there regulations where we can have accountability and advocacy to know what we see versus what's on paper due to the lawful regulations? Is it noted?
Yes.
Okay.
Real quick, if anyone is a homeowner or affected by this, or you may live in an apartment, you don't have to necessarily be a homeowner. Sheila Bun, who's my chief of staff, want to get your information so we can make sure we follow up to ensure that we can provide answers from the government. I'm a kind of convener right now, but it's our duty and our job to make sure that homeowners are made whole. And residents, not just homeowners. I'm gonna come here. I think we got right here. We got that's it. We got to close out our doors.
Thanks, Councilmember. Really quick to DCPS and maybe even to Anacostia. Have you all like walked the building like before we open on tomorrow? Like have representatives and everybody?
I'm walking.
Okay, just want to make sure that's number one. To DCWater, this is extremely helpful. And when you all have big projects like this, a way to look forward is to not just to the SMD that's affected, but to the whole ANC, and if there are schools and residents, like a school or residents in the area, to just have like maybe to partner with myself or maybe even the council member. We would love to have you to host meetings like this. DPR does, they do like these like town halls and these like construction like share outs about things that are happening, and it was actually in result because people had so many questions about these big projects and they're affecting many different people at the same time. I would just strongly encourage maybe you all employ that model so that way when things like this, if they do happen, that there are constant and consistent updates so that way people can be with you. So you all don't have to go through, this has been 2 years in the making. We all should have been with you when it was 2 years in the making as a suggestion. And one more thing for DCPS, when things like this happen, when there are emergencies, are there any like virtual learning protocols in place so that way you all can still count students for attendance for any type of like emergency situation where you guys can just get online? Someone mentioned like COVID, right? Like that online learning model to where you count them for attendance, you don't really lose anybody, they're safe. Are there is a plan like that in place just in case, especially for attendance purposes as they're coming back, just in case there might be a pitfall?
Sure, that's a consideration, but we also look at opportunities to provide food and nutrition, in addition to other opportunities to provide that social and emotional connection, being in person, and capitalizing on the opportunity for students to really either get that one-to-one support and complete different tasks that they would need to do in person. So those different factors were taken into account for this.
Okay. I was just saying just on an emergency basis, right? Like COVID was an emergency. The air quality here was an emergency. So yes for social and emotional learning, yes for the touch, yes for like the food, and there are ways to do that. But just as we are planning ahead and being solution oriented, there are still certain measures that we have to put in place if something were to go wrong. And that's what I think what the community has really been asking. If something happens, what's the game plan when it goes wrong? That's all. Thank you.
Corey Shaw, I'm an alum of Anacostia High School. I'm also a community organizer. I do a lot of work on Dairy Farm. Some of y'all see me around. My question, I think, one sort of is oriented towards the history of the community. The infrastructure in Southwest Washington, Ward 8 in particular, has been falling apart since 1954. And that coincides with integration. And that to me doesn't seem like an accident. And that's not to put it on you all, but it's to sort of say that the act of sort of remediating that kind of harm, we put it on you all. And so looking forward to seeing some kind of proactive strategy around updating the infrastructure in the ward without causing harm to the community further. The question I have is more around identifying these deteriorating pipes. I'm wondering, is there a way to use ground penetrating radar systems to run a radio signal down on the ground and see if the pipe is deteriorated, if that would work? I'm just thinking proactively about how we can use the systems we use in other cases to detect pipes, to try and figure out which pipes are falling.
Sure, I could take that one. Thank you very much for your wonderful question. My name is Ryu Suzuki. I'm overseeing the capital projects of our sewer systems. And to answer your second part, we have miles and miles of inspection data. So ground penetrating radar is one of the technology, but the best way is to send cameras all through our deteriorating pipe systems and visually inspect what's going on. So that's how we gather the information, and from that, we recognize that there's a lot of deteriorated pipes just because they're over 100 years old. And from an investment standpoint, one of the largest sewer rehab project is taking a long place in the entire Anacostia corridor. So we're getting ready to put in major investment, close to $500 million, to repair this deteriorated pipeline. So this the project that Alan's talking about is about $9.5 million. We're looking at $500 million, if not more, on this entire area. So yes, this area is a major priority for us, and we're taking proactive measurements to repair it.
Which also means that you have to make sure that this doesn't happen again. If we're gonna have this much looking forward, then we need to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Yep, and especially the community outreach, the external stakeholder, is going to be one of the most critical parts. So as this project takes on, we want to put more emphasis than ever, so all you guys are aware of what's going on, and we could be proactive about it. So thank you very much for your question. We really appreciate that.
All right, with that being said, I want to thank everyone who came out tonight. We look forward to the dialogue.
Just want to announce ANCAA's meeting is tomorrow. It's virtual at 7 p.m. The DCWater will be participating, as well as the Public Service Commission. So if you want to continue this conversation on a larger scale, please feel free to join us.
Thank you. God bless. Be safe. Good night. Please don't linger.